Yeah, absolutely. There we go. Good. Okay, so let's start by talking a little bit about each type. Thank you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about each type here. All right, so the first type that we have is what we call a limison. You'll know that it's a limison because we have a plus or minus sign in the equation. Okay, that's how we know it's a limison. These are all the different kinds of limisons. Thank you. All right, the top row is what happens if you have cosine. So label that top row right there, the only row you have cosine. Label that row cosine. Okay, so cosine is going to happen on the x-axis. My positives will look like this. My negatives will flip around and be on the negative side. Okay, the way that I know which one is which is based on this information right here. I'm going to take A, which is the first number, and divide by B, which is the second number. And if it's less than 1, I'll have a limison with a loop. If it's equal to 1, I'll have a cardioid. If it's between 1 and 2, I'll have a dimpled limison. And if it's greater than 2, I'll have a convex limison. Okay? What I did was I went in and added what the pictures look like if the equation changes to sign. So you might want to jot those down. Okay, so if the equation changes to sign, this is what your pictures will look like. Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes to write those down. That last one looks a little bit like a circle, except it's flat on one side. The second one, the cardioid, goes through 0, 0. That's the difference, is that it goes through 0, 0. Or in this case, through the pole. That's what we call that. There's all kinds of different little rules that you can go through and write down and memorize about the length of them and the length of the loop and the width of all of them. But really, I think it's easier just to know this information and then go and work with your quadrantal angles, which is the way I'm going to teach it and the way that you'll see me do it here in just a few minutes. If you see somebody else doing it with all the little rules about A minus B and A plus B and all those kinds of things, that's perfectly fine if you want to go and learn those. I just like to teach it using the quadrantal angles. I think it's easier that way. Okay. Yeah. The cardioid goes through the pole, goes through 0, whereas the dimple does not touch the pole. Yes, yes, I know. It's a little hard to see on these pictures because it's really small. Yeah. Good question. Good. Okay, if you do not have a plus or minus in your equation, it throws you into the world of either being a rose or being a circle. Okay, so with a rose, you're going to know that you have that if there is a number in front of theta. Okay, so on these, your equations are down here below. Okay, so if there's a number in front of theta, that's how I know that I have a rose. All right, that number that's in front of theta, if it is odd, that is the number of petals you have. Okay, so for example, right up here on the wall, I've got one that's 4 sine 3 theta. The number in front of theta is odd, so since it is 3, I have 3 petals. Okay, same thing right there above Sarah. Sarah, point above your head for me. That one right there. The number in front of theta is odd, so I have that number of petals. The number is 3, I have 3 petals. Okay, if the number in front of theta is even, Jenny's going to point over to her right for me. Nope, that way. Yep, there you go. Okay, that number is even. If the number is even, then you want to multiply by 2. So 4 times 2 gives me 8. I have 8 petals. Okay, so if the number in front is odd, that's the number of petals that you have. If it's even, then you multiply by 2. Okay, the number that's in front of the whole thing, So again, right above Sarah's head, if you look at that one, right above, in front of the whole thing is 8. That's the length of your petal. So I know I'm going to have 3 petals that are 8 circles long. Okay, so that's how you know what we know about a rose. Or really they look a little bit more like daisies, but they call them roses. Okay? Okay, if there is not a number in front of theta, then it throws me into this circle category, which we've talked about a little bit just now. With cosine, it's going to be on the x-axis. With sine, it's going to be on the y-axis. The number that's in front is your diameter. Okay? We have a circle over there where it says number 4, r equals 4 cosine theta. Cosine puts it on the x-axis. The 4 in the front is the diameter. I'm going to draw one of those first with you today. Okay? We will not draw lemniscates in this class. They look like these little figure eights. They're kind of cool looking. But it gets into squared values, and we will not draw lemniscates, so you don't have to worry about those. Okay? So everything that we draw will be a limicon, a rose, or a circle. Okay? Okay. So let's go over to your graph paper, and I'm going to start with number 7. Okay, so go look at number 7 on your graph paper. Keep your cheat sheet where you can see it, and let's take a look at number 7. Okay, so here's the process that I go through in my head. Okay, in my head, I'm going to start by saying there's no addition or subtraction, so I know that it is not a limicon. Okay, then I'm going to say there is not a number in front of theta. So since there is not a number in front of theta, I know that it is not a rose. It's going to have to be a circle. Okay, so that's kind of my process of elimination. No addition and subtraction, no number in front of theta, makes me have to be a circle. Okay, this one's a circle that's using cosine. So because it's cosine, I know that it's going to be on my x-axis. If it's positive, it's going to be positive. If it's negative, it's going to be over here negative. Okay? And finally, I know that A, the number in front, is going to be my diameter. So what's the diameter on number 7 going to be? 3. Good. Okay, so my diameter is going to be 3. Now, if it's a question where I'm just asking you to sketch, I'm okay if you just say, I know that I'm going to start at 0, 0. I know because it's cosine, I'm going to be on the x-axis. It's positive, and I'm going to go a diameter of 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to make my circle. Okay, so try to make a diameter of 3 up and down 2. It's hard on these graphs, but you can give it a try. And that's going to look like this. Oops. Okay, make it as circular as you can. So if it's one where I've just asked you to sketch, that's all I need for you to do. Okay, again, some of the questions I'll ask you to write an XY graph. Some I'll ask you to do a table. But if it's just one where you're sketching, you can use these hints and tricks and just sketch over here. I'm good for a circle with just those 2 points. Okay, any questions on that one? Okay, flip over on the back side. I'm going to work number 15 with you. Okay, so I'm going to go to worksheet number 3, and I'm going to find out that number 15 tells me to work r equals 2 plus 2 cosine theta. Okay, I do have addition this time. Because it has addition, I know it's going to be a limicon. Okay, because it is cosine, I know that it's going to be one of these up here. So I know I'm going to be working on my x-axis. Because there's addition, I know it's a limicon. Okay, next I need to know which type of limicon. So I'm going to go take my A value, which is the first one, 2, and divide by my B value, which is the second one, 2, and that is equal to 1. Okay. Because A divided by B is equal to 1, I know that this is going to be a cardioid. So I know that I'm looking at a heart shape that's going down my positive x-axis. Okay, so right there, I already know that it's going to be a cardioid. Okay, now again, I'm not going to ask you to draw the XY graph on this one. I'm just going to ask you to use your hints. All right. I know that a cardioid goes through the point 0, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that one. Okay, I know a cardioid touches 0, 0. Okay, I know that it's going to go out this way because I'm on my x-axis, and it's going to go out this way because I'm on my x-axis. Okay, so I need to know how long it is, and I need to know how wide it is, and they're going to be very symmetrical. All right, so I'm going to start at 0 pi, and I'm going to just use my quadrantal angles. Let me write those in for you. So my quadrantals, I've got the point 1, 0, and 0, 1, and negative 1, 0, and 0, negative 1. Okay, so I'm going to just use those angles to help me graph. Okay, so if I plug in 0 pi over here, I'm going to have 2 plus 2 times the cosine of 0 pi. Okay, remember that cosine is x on your unit circle. All right, so what is my cosine value at 0 pi? 1. Good. Okay, what does 2 plus 2 times 1 give me? 4. Good. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to graph this point as 4, 0 pi, and that's going to give me how long my cardioid is. Okay, next I need to know how wide. Now you can pick a lot of different angles for how wide, but again, the quadrantals are easy. So I'm going to use that one. I'm going to go to pi over 2. Okay, if you want to, you can use 3 pi over 2. I'm going to use pi over 2. All right, so I'm going to start by doing 2 plus 2 times the cosine of pi over 2. Lots of 2's on this one. Okay, so 2 plus 2 times, all right, what's my cosine value at pi over 2? 0, that's right, good. So my x value right here is 0. All right, so 0. All right, what is 2 plus 2 times 0? 2, that's right, good. Okay, so 2 times 0 gives me 0, plus 2 gives me 2. So now I know that I have a point at 2 pi over 2. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and be right here. Okay, now again, it's very symmetrical. So where do you think my point's going to be at 3 pi over 2? Also at 2. That's right, good. So I'm going to go 1, 2. Okay, again, because it's a cardioid, I know it's going through 0, 0, and that gives me enough information to draw if I'm just asking you to sketch. So I'm going to draw here. They're kind of rounded hearts. They don't get like that nice sharp point that you often see on a heart. Looks a little bit like that. Good. Okay, so as long as you know it's a cardioid, really those 4 points are enough to draw the heart shape. Okay. All right, the last one we're going to do, I'm going to give you a minute to try. Try number 17. All right, so go find 17, and from your worksheet, 17 says that r equals 1 plus 3 sine theta. All right, so try 17. It is also a type of limison. Okay, figure out which type, and then find those quadrantal angles. Did you find A divided by B to be less than 1? Okay, since it is less than 1, that tells me it's going to be a limicon with a loop. So this time we've got to find the length of the loop as well. Okay, because its sign, is it going to be on your X or your Y axis? Y, that's right, good. So this one's going to be going up and down here on your Y axis. Positive because they're both positive. So up here is where we're going to have a limicon with a loop. Okay, so use your quadrantals. Limicons with loops also go through the pole, so you will definitely have a point at the pole. Use those quadrantals and see if you can find your limicon with a loop. Got to find the length of that loop this time. Remember, when you have a negative radius, you're going to graph the opposite direction. Same angle, opposite direction. That's what gives you the loop. That negative radius is what gives you the loop.